We'll see if that actually comes to fruition. And if so,
Oh,
I
that
can share
sounds good.
some. Depends. Depends whether I get to the grocery store tonight.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Alrighty. Well, shall we get started?
Sure.
Great. First, were there any questions from last week that you've been thinking about?
No, it's just for me. It's just a matter of just going over it and just making sure I'm understanding it.
Great.
I
All right,
have
so
a
we are just gonna,
question.
yeah.
My question deals with, is there any additional funky sounds vowel-wise that are being made other than this being like an O?
Hmm.
Is
Right.
there any additional ones that will be coming up?
Nothing funky with vowels. We've got some funky syllable stuff,
Okay.
but we'll get to that. We'll get to the funky stuff next week. This week we're gonna be dealing with syllables. And last week we tried one syllable at a time. Now we're gonna try to build up a little bit and learn a couple rules about syllables. Right. And we can go at any pace because there's a lot to go through today. So we started learning about syllables last week. And just as a review, um, also side note, a lot of what I'm teaching here today either comes from Teach Yourself to Read Hebrew, which is a great book. If you want to practice your Hebrew, that's a great book to get. Um, I don't love the order in which they teach things, but their exercises are great. Um, it's either from that or some of Rabbi Feivel's teaching techniques. I've incorporated in here too. So some of this is being brought from different places.
Okay.
But this is from Teach Yourself to Read Hebrew, um, and Ethel Simon and Joseph Anderson say that a Hebrew syllable almost always begins with a consonant. I'm gonna write one exception that I can think of off the top of my head to that. Sometimes and looks like just an oo, right? So, um, and sometimes it's an oo that has a consonant after it. So that's the exception I can think of. I'm sure there are other ones, but most of the time, a Hebrew syllable begins with a consonant. So it's either a consonant plus a vowel or consonant, vowel, consonant. Now, I want us to realize how helpful this is because English is not like that. English is much more difficult. So think about any English word. What's one English word that you can think of right now?
Friend.
Friend? Great. Friend. Great. So with friend, we've got F is a consonant, R is a consonant, right? So we've got consonant, consonant. Yeah, let me do it this way. Consonant, consonant, vowel, vowel, consonant, consonant. All right, Curtis, what's another English word?
Weather, as in
Weather.
the
Oh, that's a
yeah.
great one. Fantastic, right? And we can even look at the other way of doing weather, right? We have consonant, vowel, vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant. Totally random, right? Consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant, consonant, vowel, consonant, right? English has 0 patterns when it involves vowels and consonants. Hebrew, for the most part, is consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel. Um, so we're going to play with this a little bit because these are our standard. This is the standard way in which we look at Hebrew. What's a Hebrew word that you can think of? Any Hebrew word you can think of?
How about shalom?
Shalom, right? Great example. So shalom is shin is a consonant, and you've got the vowel. So consonant, vowel. Lamed is a consonant, right? Consonant,
Hmm.
vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, right? What's another Hebrew word?
Shabbat.
Shabbat, great. Shabbat. I don't think those are the right vowels, but similar thing, right? Shin is a consonant, so consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant, right? Much, much easier to read than English. Way easier to read than English. The phonics are straightforward. So let's try practicing a little bit. Dr. Strain, and you, the two of you can will switch off. But with a consonant plus a vowel, Dr. Strain, can you start with the example on the far right?
Shah.
And then Curtis.
Uh, ba.
Nice.
M- Mu.
All right. What is that vowel sound underneath the mem?
But you've got the at the top. So that would be a R sound. No, that's an E sound. So
Not
it's me.
nice.
It's me.
Yeah, me. Great. All right, Curtis.
Um, is it
And a hint is that the dot in the middle of the dalid doesn't do anything.
okay? That's a great hint. Lay. I mean day.
Day. Nice. All right. And Dr. Strain.
Um, it's like, that's a cough. So it's ko.
Yeah. It's actually a koof, but it does sound like
Koof.
ko.
Ko.
Great. All right. Now let's try consonant, vowel, consonant. So Curtis, try the far right.
Ba.
Nice. Dr. Strain.
Met.
Oh, you're very close. What's the vowel underneath the mem?
Oh, that's right again. That's that long. That's the long E. So it's yeah, MET, right? Met.
So it would be the long E sound makes an E
Meat.
sound. So try
Meat.
that
Yeah.
again.
Meat.
There we go. All right, Curtis.
Dare.
Yep. And then Dr. Strain.
That. Both.
And then Curtis.
Shaw.
Yeah, exactly, right? So the way that Hebrew syllables work is pretty straightforward. So we are going to move on to longer words, right? So Hebrew, unlike English, follows the pattern consonant, vowel, consonant consistently. You can never have two vowels in a row, like in the English word beautiful, right? Beautiful has four vowels in a row, but in Hebrew you won't have two vowels in a row. You also won't have two consonants in a row, like the word hello or bubble or fuzzy, right? The only exceptions to this, and there are two exceptions, are when the yud or the aleph are helper letters for the vowels, as in bereshit. Right? Now we haven't learned about the shva yet, but this first syllable would sound like b. Second syllable would sound like re, and in bereshit the aleph and the shin are directly after each other, but the aleph here is a helper to the a sound, right? It doesn't add any extra sounds. So re, and then sheet, the yud is a helper vowel to the e sound, right? So it still sounds like consonant, consonant vowel, consonant vowel, consonant vowel, consonant, right? B, right? You've got the b sound and the sound. Yeah, re would be, you've got the sound and the a sound, and then sheet you've got the sh, e, t, right? So it still is consistently that consonant, vowel, consonant. Right. Questions about this particular rule? All right. So, rules 1 and 2, knowing all of that. One is that every syllable can have between 0 and 3 consonants. So, going back to that word bereshit, we have bereshit, right? So so syllable number 1 in bereshit is going to be b, right? It has a bet in it. Syllable number 2 is going to have 2 consonants, right? Resh and aleph. And then sheet is going to have shin, yud, taf. Another good example, so let's look at Shabbat and Shalom. Oops, what just happened there? Okay. Oh, what is happening? Can you still see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Shabbat, right? So Shabbat, here, first syllable has 1 consonant, second syllable has 2 consonants, right? Shin for the first syllable, and bet and taf for the second syllable. Right? Shalom, same thing. Right? We've got 1 consonant for the first syllable and 2 consonants for the second, lamed and mem. So every syllable can have between 0 and 3 consonants. When breaking words into syllables, just count the vowels, and you'll know how many syllables are in the word. We are not going to continue looking at bereshit for quite a while because that gets very confusing. But if you look at Shabbat and Shalom, you'll notice that there are 2 vowels in Shabbat, right? There are the 2 kamatzes in Shabbat, which means it has 2 syllables. And there are 2 syllables in Shalom, the kamatz and the cholam. Right. Let's look, for example, at, I'm going to put up a word for us. All right. So, and you can work together on this. How many syllables does that first word have?
It has 2.
Oh, my internet. So the first word does not have 2 syllables.
This has 1.
It just has 1. What is the 1 vowel that you see?
Halam.
The O.
Yeah, the cholam, right? Oops. Let's go back. Exactly. So the cholam here, we know it is 1 syllable, right? How about the second word, or the second word there? How many syllables does that second word have?
3.
Yeah, exactly.
3.
1, 2, 3. Okay. So now we know that, oops, erase the whole word. That's not what I meant to do. Okay, so now we can draw syllable lines to make it easier to read. So we don't need any syllable lines in that first word, but in the second word, we put syllable lines between each consonant vowel pair. So have either of you figured out yet what this word pair is?
I have not.
All right.
H,
Let's try sounding it out.
H, not. H-A-N is the last word.
You're very close.
Oh shit. Hashna,
No.
Hashan, Hashana.
Great. So you got Hashanah. What was the first word?
Osh.
Okay. What's the first letter that you see? The first.
It's
Uh,
Roche. It's
Yeah,
Roche.
it's a race.
yeah.
It's Roche.
Uh-huh.
It's Roche.
Yeah, Rosh Hashanah.
Oh yeah, now I feel silly. I didn't get.
Rosh Hashanah. Don't feel silly. You're doing great. Rosh Hashanah. So we know that each syllable can have between 0 and 3 consonants, and every syllable has exactly one vowel. So when you usually don't have time to do this during services, you usually don't have a pencil during services, but if you're practicing Hebrew at home, you can always practice by dividing words into syllables. Okay. So for this first word, for example, I'm going to give it away. For this first word, we know that we've got 2 vowels, right?
Mm-hmm.
For number 1, you've got 2 vowels, and so I know consonant, vowel. There's a line. Consonant, vowel, consonant, right? So, Dr. Strain, can you try sounding out that first word?
I'm having.
I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, I'm having problems trying to figure whether that's a va.
Mm-hmm, it is.
Okay,
So stick with that.
so it's the, va, 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 vaid.
Oh, very close. What's this vowel underneath the ayin?
That's a short e,
Mm-hmm, and a short e sounds like?
like in said,
Uh-huh, like eh. So it's an eh sound.
ed,
So now try that word again. Yeah, exactly.
vaed.
Nice, va'ed. Great. Curtis, I'm going to give you number 2. We'll start out with number 2. Try it out.
Okay. Ashir.
And if you need, yep, Asher. And you can keep going.
Oh, any of us? Bahar.
Mm-hmm.
Vanu.
Oh, what was that last? Say that last one again.
Vanu.
What's the first first letter there?
So it's, oh, I'm sorry. Banu.
Nice. Awesome. Great. Actually, Curtis, can I ask you to do a longer one too? Can I ask you to do number 3?
Sure.
Some of the same, one of the same words.
Share.
Mm-hmm.
Share.
And Dr.
Drawing a
Strain, on
blank.
your turn, you're going to be doing number 4. Which letter are you wondering about, Curtis?
The second letter. And there's pata under it. That is a.
Yeah.
It's just a ta.
Yeah, there we go. It makes a t sound.
Yeah. and it's hard because it's hard for me to pronounce these because in my mind these syllables don't go together. So it's hard for me to pronounce them.
Right. Well, the nice thing about this is that this comes from a blessing that we say multiple times during a Saturday morning service. So if you come to enough Saturday morning services, it kind of starts rolling off the tongue.
Mhm.
Okay, so you've got asher, and then what's the, I'm going to draw a syllable line for you. What's the first syllable there?
That's the first syllable is a comments, and the second
So,
is bata. So it's
right, which,
ta. That's a final. Is that a final noon?
yes, yeah.
I know the letters. I know the vowels. I just can't pronounce it. Like in my mind, it's not making sense. It's too much
So
English.
try one at a, yep, try one syllable at a time.
Tan.
Yeah. What's the vowel sound of the kamats?
Ah.
Yeah. So
And the
try with
batas, ah.
the, yeah, so natan.
Natan.
Yep. And not, it's not nitan, because we'll get to that. It's natan.
Okay.
Okay, so try saying natan again.
Natan.
Mm-hmm. Try to keep going.
Lanu.
Mm-hmm.
Torah. Emat. Net.
Yeah, exactly. Emet. You got it. So you just did what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words in a row. Something to be proud of. All right, Dr. Strain, do you have number 4 yet?
Yeah, it's Natar Hatara.
Nice. Can you say that first word again slower?
No tar.
All right.
Hara.
So you're close with, so
No
you've got
tar.
the no part.
No tar.
So you've got, hold on 1 second. So we're going to go even slower. What is the
Sorry.
vowel
No
sound
tone. I'm
under?
sorry. It's no tone.
Nope. So what's the vowel sound underneath the tough?
That's a short A. I mean, that's a short E.
Short. Well, so I think what would be
No.
helpful is not thinking of it in terms of short and long, right? Just thinking of it
Okay.
as the sound, right?
Okay, it's an
Because
R
if you say
sound.
short,
That's
it's
R.
not an ah sound. It's an A sound.
A sound, yeah. It's the short A, like in father.
Nope. So I'm gonna challenge you, Dr. Strain. Don't think
Okay.
of it about as short and long vowels anymore, because that's tripping you up, right? Because then you're using categories for vowels that are English categories. We want to stick to. You don't want to have to think of translating the English to the Hebrew.
Okay.
So when you see these 2 dots, you want to think A,
A, yeah.
right?
Ah.
So you've got the A
Monotones.
sound. So don't even think of that first syllable. We're doing 1 syllable at a time. Okay.
Right.
So what are these consonants? So you've got the t sound.
That's
right?
T, A,
Okay.
and that's final noon.
So now put those 2 together.
Yeah. Tone. I mean, ton.
Close. Remember, it's the A sound. The vowel has the A sound.
Ta.
Tay.
Hey.
Great. So put that together. You're just working on this syllable. Ignore the first syllable.
One.
So this syllable is just going to be tain.
Tain.
Okay. So now that you know that syllable is tain, what's the first syllable?
Da.
You had it before.
Well, I'm sorry, it's no tain. No.
Yeah, there we go. Say no. Say no tain.
No tain. No tain.
Great. Because you come to synagogue enough that you say this blessing all the time. I want to make sure you got it.
I looked at it and I was like, okay, this is no tain hatara.
Exactly. Great. Fantastic. Right. So now you know when you're coming up for your aliyah, you can say with confidence, Notain HaTorah. All right. We're going to practice all of these a little bit more. All right. Curtis, do you mind that I'm giving you some long ones?
No.
But I think you know this one. I think this is one that you've said you know by heart. So let's try the first one. These are all from the first 4 verses of Genesis.
Okay. Bara Elohim et Hashemayim.
There we go. Nice. All right. The reason why I haven't put the rest there is because they have shavas in them, and we haven't learned shava yet. All right. Dr. Strain, this next one is actually a little tricky, but we'll try it out. So try number 2. Excuse me.
Tohu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Zai. They saw Behu.
Okay, you're super close. So let's draw some syllable lines. First of all, how many syllables does that second word have?
I see 3.
Perfect. So I'm just going to draw some syllable lines. Great. So now one syllable at a time, Dr. Strain. Pause after each one. Try to read that word.
That one is that a Zion?
It is not a Zion.
Not Zion, then it's got to be, and it's not a Zion, and it's not a final nun. So it's a Va.
Mm-hmm.
Va. Va. They. Nu.
You are very
Vavenu.
close. So you've got the va part. You've got the second
Vonu.
consonant.
I'm sorry, Vonu. It's Vonu.
Vavo. What is this letter here?
That's it. That's a H. Hey. Vavo. Hey.
Mm-hmm.
Vavo.
So
Ho.
All right. So it's vavohu.
Vavo. Hu.
Tohu vavohu. Chaos and disorder. All right. Great job. Actually, Dr. Strain, can you do number 3 as well?
Four. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the ha. 1, 2, 3. Okay. No, we have. Okay. Okay. So we have
And then Curtis, I think you'll do 5 and 6.
Okay.
Ma. They.
You've got ha and ma. Yeah.
That's
So say that whole word again.
Havavim.
Oh, very close. What's that
Havavim.
middle letter?
That's a yud.
The sorry, I meant to do that differently. Ha, you've got.
Yeah,
You've got
ha.
yim.
Yim.
So what's this middle syllable here?
The one that you have circle around is
Uh-huh.
Yan. Yim.
Yim you've got, but after
Have a
ha,
yim.
what's this letter?
That's a mem.
Great. So what is the mem plus the ah sound?
Ma.
Great. So ha, ma, and
Ah.
then?
Yim.
Yeah, so put those together.
Hava.
Really slowly.
Ma. Yim.
Yes. Ha, ma, yim. Say, great. And I want to stress again that you don't have to go so quickly, right? I think you have a tendency to want to say all of these Hebrew words really quickly. I want you to say one syllable at a time. Pretend each syllable is a separate word and go really slowly. All right. I'm going to give you a quick break. Dr. Strain, you're going to do number 4 in a minute, but Curtis, can you try number 5?
It, ha, or, bet, toe,
And I think my internet came out real quick. What did you say for this one?
be.
What's the first letter there?
Oh, I'm thinking it's yeah. That is a cough.
Yeah. So what is that word?
That is ketov.
Oh, actually, I heard you wrong. It's not a chaf, it's a cough because it's got that cough drop in the middle, right?
Yes, it does. Ketov.
Yeah, there we go. Or ki tov. Do you remember what tov means?
Good.
Yeah. Right. So God created et haor. Et haor is the light, and et basically is a connecting word in Hebrew. Whenever you see et, it doesn't really mean anything. So et haor is God created the light. Ki tov, and that, or actually this would be God saw the light. Ki tov, that it was good. All right. Um, Dr. Strain, can you try number 4 now?
I have down va, ye, va ye, men.
All right, we've got a couple of issues here. So va, you've got the va syllable down, which is great.
Right.
And you definitely know how to break up the syllables. So what sound does this vowel here make?
That's an O sound.
Great. So try that the middle syllable.
Va, yo,
Mm-hmm.
yo, meme.
Okay. What is this vowel sound here?
There is no, that's a silent, isn't that?
That is not a silent.
Okay, so it's okay. And if it's not the silent one, I know which one it is. It's so it makes the east the ed sound.
Nice.
So
Okay,
it's
and then
Vayimed.
what is this? Hold on, what's this last letter here?
Okay. That's a resh.
Great. So how would you say just this syllable? Ignore the first 2 syllables.
Yeah, so it's basically mare.
Nice. Mare. So try
Mare.
putting all 3 syllables together really slowly.
Va yo mare.
Perfect. Vayomer. And then the second word here is a word that you should know, is a name that you might know.
A word or a name? I think it's a
Name. Well, it is both a name and a word. It exists in both forms.
I know. I'm going with what's that?
So let's start out from the very beginning. This is going to be helpful. What is this vowel sound?
That vowel sound is a E.
So not E. It's the
It's
same
ed.
one.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's ed.
eh.
It's ed. Ed low.
Okay.
Ed low. Ed low. Ed low. Ed low ham. What do you think? Ed low ham?
Yeah,
Okay.
Elohim.
Elohim. Yeah.
Yeah, Elohim. Great. All right. Curtis, do you have number 6?
Not really. Try.
Okay, so let's try as much as you can.
Va'im, Haor, Ruvaim, Haksheh.
All right, we're almost there. Or you've got, which is great. All right. So this first word, what's the vowel underneath the bet?
It's a Siri.
It's what?
I think I'm Tsire, Siri.
Yeah. So it's an A sound.
Yeah.
Great. So now try saying that word again.
Ve'im,
Okay. What is the first letter?
oh, that's a bet. So
Mhm.
buying.
So it's how many syllables? How many syllables was that?
Like one.
One. Yeah. So say that as one syllable.
Buying.
So this remembers the
Oh,
A sound.
Bane. Bane.
There we go. Bane. Okay. So Bane Haor. Now that you know that, try this word. Oops. This one here.
Mm-hmm. Um, Ovane.
Mm-hmm.
Hakshik.
Okay. So
Hakshik.
how many? Okay, so you're real close. This one's a tricky one. What is the how many syllables does this have? Oh, actually, let me teach you a principle here. Um, because it kind of shows it, but it's hard to see from the computer screen. There are 2 dots here, right? There's a
Mm-hmm.
dot over the chaf,
Mm-hmm.
and the chet, and there's a dot to show that this is a shin, right? But
Okay.
sometimes in some prayer books, you'll just have them combined as one dot,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because they're so close together, we know from this dot that this is an O sound over the chet, and then that this is a shin because the dot's on the right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now, how many syllables does this word have?
1, 2, 3.
Yes. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3. All right. So let's try that word again.
Ha. Ko. Chic. Check.
Yeah, there you go. So now try that whole line for
Oh,
line 6.
okay. Bane. Haor.
help you out here.
Ruvine.
Just keep going.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do. You do. So do it.
I have all of these rules going in my head, and I'm trying to pronounce it.
Yeah. So then try when it seems like too much, just split it up into 3 syllables, right? So just try this first syllable and see if you can get that.
Okay. Ha.
Okay. Great. Second syllable.
Cho.
Great. Third syllable.
Shech.
Yes. Right. So when you're looking at your Siddur at home and you've got a prayer that's really hard to pronounce, there are too many rules, there's just too much. There's a particular word during prayer services that you find that you're just not able to pronounce. When you go home, just write lines. Right? So in my B'nai Mitzvah students' books, especially for Yit Gadal, the Yit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma, Divra Pirtei, V'yamlich Malchutei, those words are really long, and in all of their books they've got a bunch of lines just showing them the different syllables, because it's so much easier to do it syllable by syllable than trying to figure out the entire word. There are a lot of sight words, though. Like when you see shalom or baruch, after a while you know that that's exactly what that word is, right? All right. How do y'all feel about learning a few more rules?
Sure.
Sure? Okay. So rule 3A and what were you saying? Okay. So Shiva makes everything more complicated. Remember, Shiva is that little vowel that little vowel here that has the 2 vertical dots. And we've been avoiding the Shiva because it's annoying. I think it's annoying. You might love it. Okay. Here. So with our Shiva here, the number 1 rule is that 1 vowel per syllable works 100% of the time, except when a Shiva is present in the word. When you see a Shiva in any word, just draw a syllable line after it. Right? The Shiva is going to function as a syllable break, thus ending each syllable in which it's present. So if the Shiva either starts the word or has another Shiva beforehand, it has a small glottal sound. So this is one example of that. So this word starts out, I know that I'm going to draw a syllable line after a Shiva. So this word starts out with the sound le. So le olam. Right? Great. So Dr. Strain, and I'm going to write syllable lines here just so that it's easier. Dr. Strain, try word number 2.
So it's here we go again. Na nu na.
So you got ve na.
Okay, so that that is okay. I'm mixing up. Yes, so that's that.
Mm-hmm.
Na nu.
Okay.
Nai.
So hold on, what's this word letter here?
That's a tav.
Mm-hmm.
They na tone.
You are almost there. Vena. Yeah, venatan.
Natan. Venatan.
Mm-hmm. Great. And you'll hear a lot of viz, right? Ve just means and. So that's why you see ve a lot in Hebrew text. All right. Dr. Strain, can you try number 3? And I'll draw those syllable lines again. Oops.
They hava.
Vecha. You're good with vecha. What's that third letter?
Behayad.
Vechaye.
Bahaye.
Vechaye. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of a break, Curtis, because I know you've been reading long words.
Yeah,
What's
no
the
problem.
first syllable here?
That is the.
Okay, so be. So we've got, so this word then is going to be betochenu. Right. So when a betochenu.
Yeah, betochenu.
Right. So when we've got that shva at the beginning of the word, we know that it makes just a small glottal sound. And it does sound, it operates similar to normal vowels. Right. So we're going to go on to this part real quick. So rule number 2, 1 vowel per syllable. Oh, we just did that. Okay. Rule 3b, if the shva is after another vowel, it does not make a separate sound. Okay. So, for example, this word here, which we've already seen before. Actually, I'm not even going to use that word. I'm going to use the word that's right in the middle. So I'm going to show you the word that's right in the middle here. Remember how we said that that a shva marks the end of a syllable. Right? So if I have a shva here in the middle of the word, I'm not going to draw a syllable line after that vowel before it. So this first syllable here is bar, and then the second syllable is hu. Bar, hu. Okay. Great. Curtis, what is this third word here?
Okay. Melech.
Nice, right? And yes, this is right. This is the shva we're talking about here. And Dr. Strain, what's the first word here?
That is Barhu.
Close. Think a word that you say a lot.
Barhu. But
So
that's
you've got ba.
Bahud. That's Ba.
Okay, and then try the second syllable.
Okay, I did it differently. Baru.
Yeah, Baruch.
Baru.
Okay. We know that because the resh comes first. Okay. Baruch. All right. Now, what in the world do we do with this word here? Right. We know that we draw a syllable line after each shva. So we know that if a shva comes at the beginning of the word, that you draw a syllable line here. You know that if the shva is on its own in the middle of a word, you group it with the vowel that was beforehand. So now, Curtis, try reading this word.
Okay. Leha. Li.
Trying to figure out that last letter?
Yeah,
That's hard. Dr. Strange, do you remember what this last letter is?
I know what it is.
You
Like
know
I
what
said,
it is? What?
it's a koof.
Great.
Yeah, it's
So
a
then
coop,
we'll
yeah.
just
But
great. So then what?
In my mind, these syllables just I can't make them. I can't grasp it in my head because it's just a word I'm not used to saying. I mean, it's hard to pronounce.
Yeah, it's hard. So try just that last syllable on its own. It's an English word that makes sense.
Leaf.
Yeah.
Luke,
Leak.
leak.
Yeah. Leak. Right. So le had leak.
Oh yeah, yeah. They have
Lehad,
say it all the time, right?
lehad leak ner shel
Well,
Shabbat.
Shabbat,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Or shel Hanukkah. Lehad leak is to light, so it's anytime when we're going to be lighting a candle. All right. So those were Rabbi Feivel's ways of understanding these vowel or these Shiva rules. I find it actually I find it a little bit easier to use these three rules now that I told you the other ones. But this is kind of how I like to think about it. When a Shiva appears at the beginning of the word, so like the word that we just did, le hadlik, it's a syllable by itself. Le hadlik, or ve ahafta, or be midbar, right? When you've got that shva sound at the very beginning of the word, it's a syllable all by itself. When two shvas appear in the row, the second one is a syllable by itself. Right? So mishpechot, right? This word here, we're going to have the first syllable is going to end here. Second syllable is going to end here. So 3 syllables here. It's mishpechot. The first shva doesn't make any sound at all. The second shva will make that sound. Okay. So 1, when the shva appears at the beginning of the word, it's a syllable by itself. 2, when 2 shvas appear in a row, the second is a syllable by itself. And in most other cases, the shva just indicates the end of a syllable. It doesn't make an extra sound at all. So we see that with had in lehadlik, or mish in mishpechot. So in most cases, when you've got that shva in the middle of the word, it just indicates the end of a syllable and doesn't make an extra sound. Does that all make a little bit of sense?
Little bit.
Little bit, right? It takes a while with the shva. Sometimes people just get it. Sometimes people don't just get it. Before we go on with more shva practice, before we go on with a little bit more shva practice, we'll take a break from sounding stuff out. And I just want to share the names of God, because this is so interesting. As we start reading more Hebrew, as we start getting more into Hebrew text, there are different names of God, and these should be sight words. We see them so often that when you see them, after a while at least, you should be able to know, okay, I see this word, this is what it sounds like. Especially because these words don't actually sound like they look, at least some of them. Right? So the 2 most common names for God are the ones on the right column and the ones on the left column. The ones on the right column, at least these first 3, are all representations for the holy name of God. Right? In Torah text, the holy name of God is represented by Yud He Vav He. Usually it's scrunched together. I don't like to write it scrunched together because there is a legal stigma against erasing those letters. So usually they'll write them together. Sometimes they'll even put vowels underneath, but you never sound out that word. And 2 reasons why you might not sound out that word. 1 is we don't really know how it was pronounced, and 2, it's such a holy name that they used to only pronounce it in the Holy of Holies once a year on Yom Kippur. So we don't pronounce Yud He Vav He, but when we see Yud He Vav He, what do we say instead?
Adonai.
Adonai, great. There are some cultures or some facets of Judaism, who will not say Adonai unless they're actually actively quoting Torah or reading a prayer. Right? They want to save the name of God for only the holiest moments. Right? The reason I use it here is I'm using it for the sake of education. Right? L'shem chinuch. Right? So today we can use the word Adonai. Right? Other ways to represent Adonai, if you've got a prayer book that's a little bit flimsy and it's obvious that somebody's going to throw it out, they might use this. So when you see these two yuds, you'll pronounce that as Adonai. And then when you see hey with that chipchuk, that you'll see pronounced as either Adonai or Hashem, right? So sometimes, again, when people don't want to say Adonai, they'll replace it with Hashem, which literally means the name.
The name.
Mm-hmm. Right. Sometimes even in sacred text, we'll see it already written out and as Adonai, and that literally means my Lord. When we see it in that sense, it's not the name of God, it's just calling God my Lord. Because Adonai, again, is a substitute name. So Adonai just means my Lord. That's why in many biblical texts, they'll translate every time you see the Lord, like with big bold letters, that's referring to Adonai. Right. Questions about the right column? Okay.
Question,
So left,
and it dates
yeah.
back to, I have seen where it has been written, my Lord, but I've had other people in the congregation, instead of saying my Lord, say Adonai.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes in some congregations, you might even see it, you might even hear it as the eternal, right? Because Yud He Vav He is actually it's a variation on the root He Vav He. Oops, that was not a He. He Vav He. Or really Hey Yud Hey. Hey Yud Hey or Hey Vav Hey, either way. And that means to, oh, sorry, was that right? Yeah, right. That means that root means to be. So it's was, will be, is being, right? All of the variations of to be. So sometimes people will also translate that as eternal, right? If they don't want to say Lord because Lord is gendered, they'll say eternal because really that's a great translation for that to be vowel. So the eternal. So that's not just, when you see eternal, that's not just a hippie way to avoid saying the Lord, but it's actually a pretty great translation of Yud He Vav He. So on the left, we have what's often translated as just God. But, fun fact, Elohim, which we translate as God, can also mean judges, and also can mean gods, right? When a word in Hebrew ends with im, that means that it's a plural word. So even though we translate this as God, and it's conjugated as a singular male noun, it also in some places is used in Torah to mean gods, like plural gods. Right? So that's always food for thought. Right? Why did we keep this in here when we're referring to our holy God, our one singular holy God? So Elohim is the big name for God when we're not using Yud He Vav He. Another word for God is El. Now, El is literally just a singular lowercase God. So when we say Ha-El, right, when we're referring to El in the singular, we're referring to, which God are we referring to? We're referring to our God, right? So we're referring to a singular God, and we make it uppercase because in the same way that in English, God and God use the same letters, in Hebrew, when we're referring to one lowercase God, it's El, and when we're referring to our one singular God, it's also El. So Elohim and El. Other forms of God that you'll see are Eloheinu. The nu at the end of Eloheinu means our. right? So our God. And Elohecha means your God. The cha means yours.
Yeah.
All right. So most often when you see Elohim, it's just referring to God in the uppercase. But it's just fun to know that there are other translations as well. All right. Other questions about all these names? All right. Let's go back. Let's do a little bit more practice to finish us off. Okay. We've looked at this word a whole lot. So, Dr. Strain, we've looked at this word a few times today.
Barshim.
Let's try to.
Barish.
Huh?
Barish. Barishit. Bara.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Bereshit.
Sheen. Yeah. Barishim.
Bereshit, which means in the beginning. All right. And Curtis, what's number 2?
Fate.
Okay. Very close. So remember, when you've got the shava at the beginning of the word, you want it to make a little sound. So try
Correct.
making that 2 syllables.
Vu. 8.
So it's really going to be, it's more going to sound like the 8. Try
The
that.
8. The 8.
Nice. Yeah. It's like it's a little stutter. The 8. Great.
Okay.
All right. Pam, can you try number 3? You are muted. You're muted.
Haaretz. Hai ta.
Nice. Great. All right. Dr. Strain, can you actually try number 6?
That's also Vava. No, it's
Right. So va, you've got. That's syllable number 1.
Yad. Vayari.
Yep.
Vayari.
Yeah. There's no E sound, right?
Vayari.
It's just, there's no E sound.
Vayari.
It's just vayar.
Vayar.
It's just, it's just 2, because remember that you've got, it's actually tricky here because you would think that you would draw the syllable line here, but really because the aleph doesn't make any sound, you put it here. So it's really vayar.
Vayar.
Yep. So just 2 sounds. Because remember that shava, when it shows up in the middle of the word, it doesn't make any sound at all.
Right.
Vayar. All right. Curtis, we'll try number 5, and we can do it really, really slowly. Okay. So first of all, before Curtis starts number 5, for everybody, where is the syllable line going to go in this first word?
Right behind the yo.
Nice. So now try that first word, Curtis.
Okay. Hiri.
Try that again.
Ehri.
Where are you getting the sound?
I don't know. I'm all confused. I'm just trying to keep all this stuff in my head. I'm really just taking a stab.
You're good. You're good. It's hard. So we'll just try this word. So so you've got the h sound, right? From the hey. What is the vowel sound underneath?
A harik.
Nice. So what sound does harik make?
E.
Yeah. So just say this syllable.
He.
Yeah. So now try those 2 syllables together.
I forgot the first syllable. I'm not sure what that.
So you said before, it was yeah.
Was that correct?
So yeah, yeah, that was correct.
Okay. Yeah. Here.
So remember, there's no sound in it.
Yehi.
Yeah, yahi, yahi, and just try that second word, and we can end there.
Okay. Four.
And
Four.
what's the first let?
It's an olive.
So we.
So it's silent.
And
correct?
then yeah.
Mhm.
And then there's
And
no.
that's-
Remember, this vav here is not a vav. It's a
Oh.
figment of your imagination.
So now I'm left with the resh. Olive resh. Or.
Yeah. He or. Thank you for letting me give you some tricky ones. Everybody
You're
here.
welcome.
And then Dr. Aber, can you finish number 5?
By he or.
Nice. So yehi or, there will be light. Vayehi or, and there was light. Great. And next time we'll start with number 4 here, just to we'll start with number 4
Oh
as
man,
a challenge,
I
but
was
we'll split it up.
practicing
That's okay. So just one last note for today. And today was difficult because we learned a lot of rules. We're going to go over those rules again. But a note on pronunciation. So Hebrew words are normally pronounced with the accent on the last syllable. Some words are pronounced with the accent on the second to last syllable. And without a knowledge of Hebrew grammar, it's not possible to be sure where to put the accent on a Hebrew word, even with knowledge of Hebrew grammar. It is really hard to remember where to put the accent on a Hebrew word. So when in doubt, just put the accent on the end of the word. Right? You'll be correct most of the time. And then in many Hebrew prayer books, words that aren't pronounced with the accent on the last syllable are shown with a little accent mark. So the word ha'ele is pronounced ha'ele, right? The word shalom has that last syllable accented like most other words, or Shabbat, right? So most Hebrew words are going to have the accent at the end. So just a thing to remember. All right. For next time, what I would like to do is, because we really don't have a whole lot of, I think we have maybe 2 classes left. Normally I would do this in 10 full classes, but we are limited on time. But since we've got 2 classes left, I think next time we can work on, we can pause on the weird stuff. We can kind of spend our last time together working on the weird stuff. But I'd like to look at some verses from Bereshit, and whoever is present will see, can we each learn a verse from Bereshit, from that very beginning of the Torah, so that if we can all make it, for those of us who can make it to Simchat Torah, that you can read that one verse in front of the congregation. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Great. All right. Thank you for learning with me. I know it's challenging, but I'm excited about keeping on learning, and I'm excited to see y'all. I know that you can't come in person, Dr. Aber, but I'm excited to see y'all over the high holidays. So Shana Tova.